NOAA's role in the Great Lakes is understanding the Great Lakes from an ecosystem standpoint. And to do that, we have to observe things, physical properties like temperatures, the waves, the currents, but also looking at the ecosystem parameters around the chemistry and the biology. Then we can put that into a model that will say, are the mussels increasing in density? Are they increasing in area? What is the state of the water quality? What is the state of the zooplankton community that then feeds the fish? There's a whole chemical, physical, biological monitoring effort here that looks at everything from the nutrients all the way up to fish. Studying a large lake like this over time is really the best way to get at where the trends are going. All of the data that we collect is helping to inform either long-term decision-making or short-term decision-making. During the spring, summer, and fall, we're very successful at doing that. We have a consecutive data set that's around 20 years long. In the wintertime, we're basically getting nothing. Right now, our research vessel, it's in the water, but we really can't get out of the channel because the channel is filled with ice and it would do damage to the boat to get out. If you're trying to make a decision that might relate to, for instance, a drinking water manager, then you don't have that information in real time and you can't make immediate decisions based on it. No one has an ice-hardened hull that they can actually get out there and break ice and continue to do research. And to build a vessel like that is very expensive. We would like to get winter observations. We've identified that as a gap. How do we take advantage of advanced technology, autonomous underwater systems, or autonomous air systems to begin to fill in the gaps in the winter season? Today, what we're doing is testing a power system, a docking station, and a very large autonomous underwater vehicle.
We're at the USS Silversides Museum in Muskegon, Michigan, to do a trial for under ice survey.
We joined with a company called Hibbard Inshore. It turns out that right here in Michigan, these folks had the most experience with a vehicle like this that could do this job of getting out in the winter under ice.
Hibbard Inshore is using our saber-tooth system. It's a perfect platform to carry different types of sensors and other things.
Sonar, video, lasers, ultrasonic thickness sensors.
It's a very sophisticated, very powerful vehicle. It's one of the more advanced systems in the world.
Normally we work with a lot of energy companies and other type of customers. So this is a very special project for us. It's really good and it's really fun for us to contribute to this environmental monitoring that NOAA is going to do here in the Great Lakes.
When there's ice on the lake, it would not be able to come up through the ice and surface. Because of that, we have to provide power under the ice to the vehicle. So this project we're doing here today is the very first time an autonomous underwater vehicle has ever been charged using a hydrogen fuel cell. Additionally, I believe it's one of the first times that an AUV has ever been charged in any manner underwater.
If we tried to do that, for instance, with lead-acid batteries or even lithium batteries, we would have a very, very large system. It's a very safe way to do it. The only byproducts that it produces when hydrogen and oxygen come together is H2O, water.
My name is Chris Cox. I'm the Director of Product Development for Teledyne Energy Systems, and we're here today representing the Teledyne Subsea Supercharger, which is helping to execute today's mission for NOAA. What the Subsea Supercharger is providing, that vehicle can be recharged without having to come up to the top of the surface, creating a much longer mission life for the vehicle without any type of external intervention.
Once the ice comes, we can use that hydrogen under the ice to then provide power for the vehicle to do multiple surveys of the areas of interest.
It would be nice to test the vehicle, under ice. Having not done this before, we're going to test the ability of the autonomous system to transit in and out of the channel under the most favorable conditions. And then once we're practiced at that, then we'll be ready to deploy the system in the winter when we have ice cover. So the vehicle is designed to go out for this particular mission, to go out and get us images of the bottom. There are some quagga mussel reefs that we know have been changing over time. There's an acoustic way of measuring zooplankton and fish, and we're getting basic water quality parameters.
My interest in the project is an opportunity to use new technologies, new ways of looking at and studying the mussels, being able to study them over a larger area, using scanning and multibeam technology to characterize the extent of mussel beds.
As we start, as we're on the surface, we get a GPS fix. As we move along, once we're underwater, we no longer have that. It's using something called a fiber optic gyro. There are a number of other sensors that measure speed, and then we have some beacons located out in the lake that'll be very accurate locations where it can incrementally add to its position.
The question is, where do you put the beacons so they're close enough that you can use them for navigation, but far enough that you can spread them out so you don't need too many?
The orientation of the workspace versus the channel. You're sort of open and closed, but you're operating one system, so it's got to do both. We're confident it'll do what we've said it'll do. We just need to see it in the numbers, see it in the performance.
To start, we're going to manually move the vehicle into a starting position, and then we will turn the software on so that it'll start flying on its own.
We'll come out of that docking station and move down the channel out into the lake and do some initial mapping. What we hope to do is by the end of the day tomorrow is have a complete map of an area offshore collected. NOAA has an excellent 20-year data set from right here in Muskegon, Michigan that refers to the ecosystem health of Lake Michigan. This has been a tremendous success. What we haven't been able to do is reliably get out in the wintertime to collect ecosystem parameters that represent what's happening during the coldest months of the year.
What happens in winter influences what's going to happen in the following seasons. If you have a lot of algae growing during winter, that can actually cause low oxygen later in the season. The nutrients that are gathering during winter have an influence on algal growth that you'll get into the spring.
The Great Lakes contain 90% of our nation's surface freshwater. We saw over the past 200 years, human activity actually degraded the lakes. Pollutants entered into the system, allowed invasive species to come in.
Most people may be more familiar with the zebra mussel because that's what you're going to find in nearshore environments. It's what's fouling on the dock right here. It's going to find it on boats.
What we've done here is demonstrate a methodology for bridging that gap, getting out in the wintertime, whether that's the Great Lakes or whether that's in the Arctic Ocean, long-term observations, routine observations in very dangerous environments.
Particularly because one of the new missions our laboratory has received is to be part of the National Center of Expertise for Oil Spill Response and Preparedness.
This is a technology that could allow us to properly respond to a spill into anywhere in the Great Lakes, anywhere in a region that is ice covered, and we can operate from that point. We now have this very powerful tool for pulling in, docking, delivering our data, going back out reliably, autonomously, collecting data that's valuable for understanding what is happening in the ecosystem.